So for this session, we'll be talking about discussing on organic transition, the resources that is available to farmers for all of us success. So our first speaker is a member of Oak, and our first speaker is Kenya Abraham. And we also have someone from NRCS, Randy Smallwood. Please let's welcome our speakers.
Good morning, everyone. I feel really good this morning after that keynote and those, having everyone up there talking. And when they got into mentorship, I was like, yeah, because today I'm going to speak with you, and I'm honored to be here to introduce you to our Transition to Organic Partnership Program, also known as TOPP. And I have to move the clicker. They've hired me to do that today. And so the Transition to Organic Partnership Program is a network of organizations that are partnering to support transitioning and existing organic farmers. And when I say that, when I say organic farmers, I don't just mean people who are certified organic. A lot of you are practicing organic practices or interested in doing so. And so this program is for everybody. It's not just for certification. We want to see people healing the land. We are interested in mostly connecting transitioning farmers with mentors. We're going to build a paid mentorship network to share practical insight and advice. So some of the folks that were up on that panel today, when they talked about, that mentor, it really is specific to helping you get in shape, to get your farm in shape. And so we also want to provide community building opportunities and help producers overcome technical, cultural, and financial shifts during and following certification. There's also another piece that we're looking at to engage educational training and opportunities for institutions to join in on this work. And so people like extension agents and crop advisors and other partners that we're looking at to help spread the word about TOPP and also help us to do what we need to do in order for us to get the workforce training and education for the future human capital planning. And so what's happening is the Organic Transition Initiative is that $100 million has been handed down for mentorship and technical assistance, and $75 million to NRCS. And Randy's here today to discuss that portion of it, and then we also have $25 million going into risk management. All of this is for the organic market, and then $100 million going into the marketplace development. There are 6 different regions across the United States right now, and so if you don't live here, you might look at this and find out where your state is, but most of the people in this room, I believe, are from Kentucky. We do have people that attend that aren't. And so Oak is partnering in the Midwest region, and we are responsible, we're the lead for Kentucky. We're responsible for developing and delivering programs for Kentucky farmers in collaboration with other partners over the next 4 years. And so we are in the Midwest region. And there she be, that's me, Kenya Abraham. I am a farmer first. I'm a dairy farmer in Lexington, Kentucky. And that's one of my meat chickens that is no longer with us, but was delicious. And if you will, you can take note of my email address, my phone number, but you can also get a card out there on the table or reach out to me after this. I'd love to give you. I got cards in my pocket, love to hand that out to you. Besides being a farmer, I've been an organic crop inspector, and I've done training for livestock inspection. And when I came across this job opportunity, in my email, I thought, oh my goodness, this is like the best of both worlds, because I'm working with our producers in Kentucky, which I love working with Kentucky producers. And so building this network, being a part of this work is very important to me, and I am so honored to be here, and that Oak has given me the opportunity to do so. So what we're focusing on, the top priorities for Oak, has not really changed much from what Oak's always done. We have always been into organic transition technical assistance and building farmers in Kentucky. So this is just kind of bolstering the program that already exists. Kind of putting it on steroid just a bit, if I say. And I'm not alone in this work, thank goodness. So I have a really good team. There's Blake at the top, and I don't know if he's here today, but I know that Holly should be here. She might be in the room. And these two are organic certification specialists, and along with, the work I'm doing, they're basically doing the same thing, just coming out to your farms, helping you with certification and guidance, and it's all free. It's for anyone that's interested in just, getting into process, knowing how to do these practices. This is, where you start, and so it starts with an application on our website. There should be a QR code. Yeah, it's there. If you want to hit that and get into the TOPP application, one of us will be in touch with you. And they can we help with input records, farm maps, like all the things, record keeping, and then, just whatever you're interested in needing. And something new to our program, which we're really super excited about, is our organic production technical assistance. And so this is a new piece that we found that farmers needed after working with, so many people in transition. It's like, we need some assistance. And so this TOPP program has allowed us to have this new position. And I'm going to call Sarah right on the spot and have her come up and talk about what it is that she does in organic production technical assistance.
Yeah, hi. I don't always scowl like that. Hi, everybody. I'm Oak's new organic production specialist. So my role is to help farmers with any production needs. So I'm available to offer support in anything from production planning, troubleshooting challenges, implementing new systems, scaling up, and more. You do not have to be an Oak member or certified organic to qualify for this Oak service. I work with beginning farmers as well as more experienced farmers. Please consider me a resource to save you time, track down evidence-based resources, or develop or find useful planning tools. I also can give you referrals to Oak partners and advisors who are experts at the issues you are having. So there's more information about Oak's Production Assistance Program on our website. And I'm going to be around if you have any questions. I'd love to meet you in person and put a face to the future email or phone call. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, you'll find that I might, if you reach out and you need assistance, I may slide you over to Sarah as well if it's something that we feel that you need or that you feel you need. But it's a really cool service to have. Okay, and so the third measure of what we're looking at for our priority is the Organic Mentorship Program. And as I mentioned before, I'm super excited about this piece. I saved it for last. It definitely is not least. And it is exactly what you see in this picture. It's literally hand in hand. So you're getting all the services that I just mentioned prior, but also there's a mentorship opportunity for farmers who are interested in transitioning to certification. And so I believe that the mentorship cohort that I've put together for this year is in the room with us today. And I just would like to call on everyone that's in our cohort for mentorship. If you've applied, if you've got an application in and are on the waiting list, or those of you who are actually active, could you please stand up in the room so everyone can see who we're working with and what we're doing? So we've got some really, really awesome people working in this program, and it's going to build connections between experienced organic producers and producers that are transitioning to organic, supports the transition process, and it's going to create that network of organic producers across Kentucky. And so the National Organic Program considers mentorship to be the cornerstone of the TOPP program. It's very important that we're looking at this in the lens of being certified organic. And so if you're a farmer that's dreaming about, certification and how do I get there, and if it's really, you want it to reflect your values of your operation, this is for you. If you're already certified and you've been doing this a while and you want to help that farmer who's dreaming about being certified, this is for you as a mentor. The goal, the number one goal for this is 100% success rate and organic certification for that transitioning producer. And so what's in it for you? I mean, like, don't you want to be this guy? Like, it's all free. Like, yes. He looks like, I'm so happy. I think that's why I chose this picture. It's like, how could it not be like, yes? So you're getting a $500 educational stipend on top of that organic production technical assistance and on top of the organic certification technical assistance. You're also getting a $500 travel stipend for some of the requirements. This money is to help you move along into what we're trying to do. There's a QR code if anybody wants to hit that and apply. And so the requirements for a mentee, it's not just that you sign up and, oh, I'm just in there. There are things you have to do. You do have to complete the onboarding process with the mentor and the mentorship program manager. And you will need to commit to a 1-year relationship with a mentor, and that's like 45 hours per year. You've got to be willing to host the mentor on your operation and also go visit your mentor's operation at least one time each. And then you'll be required to participate in monthly meetings with your mentor. That can be over the phone, emails, or Zoom, or however you guys decide to set that up. And as the mentee, you're responsible for initiating the goals that you're looking at and communicating promptly with emails and phone calls and et cetera. You'll have at least 3 in-person touch points with your mentor. This would be like coming to Oak Conference today. So we've got touch points with the ones that have, came here and met. You're also required to attend like an event together, which like coming to Oak Conference would cover that. And you must be committed to pursuing organic certification in this program. We will also create an organic system plan with you and help you complete like your farm assessments and all the things that the paperwork and the sticky side. So me and the team, not only do you have your mentor, but you've got me and the team behind you. So really, this is like, you can't ask for more than this. This is really where it's at. You also got to participate in the program evaluations, the quarterly check-ins. That's dealing with me, being on the phone with you and seeing how things are going. And that's basically what we're asking for mentees. And what's in it for the mentor farmer? So your stewardship and experience are highly recognized and greatly appreciated in Kentucky agriculture. And so we really feel that we need to pay our mentors a good wage for what the hours they're putting in with their mentees. And so all the mentors will receive a $3,000 stipend for their work. Oh goodness. There we go. The mentor requirements are also similar to the mentee requirements. They just have a little bit of more things to do. So the mentor, you must complete the onboarding process with the mentee and with the program manager, and you've got to host that mentee on your operation. The same, you have to go visit that mentee's operation at least one time. You've got to answer your mentee's emails and phone calls promptly and lead those monthly meetings with your mentee. The mentors are required to track the mentorship hours and activities, and it's recommended that you attend at least one educational event together, like the Oak Conference today. It's also suggested that the mentor to present or at least host some type of an educational event. Then there's, participating in the same program evaluations and quarterly check-ins with me as necessary. The payment schedule is not all up front, so you get 1/3 of your payment after we sign our mentorship contracts and W-9s, and then you'll get the other 2/3 at the end of the program when we do evaluations. Oh, good. There we go. And so there's one more thing that we're still waiting for and kind of working on, which is to engage. Well, it's not one more thing, there's actually kind of 2. We're engaging in educational and training institutions into this work, and so planning for workforce development and infrastructure and different things, it's just working with partnerships to build those relationships. And so we are currently partnering with a couple of different organizations in Kentucky to work with BIPOC farmers, farmers in eastern Kentucky, western Kentucky, and trying to build relationships to have this program in hopefully every extension agent's office. Like when people walk in, they should know about TOPP. And so we're really working for the future of the human capital planning. This thing loves me. Okay, there we go. And so that's, organic education and outreach with community partners. And I tried to put that on at the last talk. And so with that, I mentioned workforce development, and that's the piece that we've not yet, had passed down as far as our lines and where we're to go. But I do have an opportunity that we'd like to share with you that's from Kentucky State University and the International Inspectors Association, Organic Inspector Association. There we go. So this is a basic crop inspection training. It's actually the same course that I took to become an organic crop inspector. It is free, and I would say that if you want to get into the organic industry, inspection work is the gateway, and we need quality inspectors who know farming. Everybody in this room, obviously, something about farming. This piece is really, really going to help with the work that we're trying to accomplish. And so this will be October 28th through November 1st, and it's the International Organic Inspectors Association and Kentucky State University collaborating on this work. So I'm really excited to see this course coming about for Kentucky. Here again is that QR code if you want to sign up to be a mentor or a mentee, if you want just transitioning technical assistance, if you want to provide technical assistance in some way and be in our partnership, this is where you would go. So join us now. I also want to mention that it takes all of us to build a sustainable food system. I couldn't leave this out because I think it's really important that everyone know that about Oak's membership, and in case you missed it, that we have new equity membership opportunities with Oak. And so if you have a friend or you yourself are interested in getting an Oak membership, there are ways to make it more equitable and fair for everyone, because we want everyone involved in the organic food system. And so just a note, if you need to go to our website, learn about our equity memberships, it's there. Thank you. Right? And of course, we have our field notes, and most of you are probably already signed up for our newsletter, but it never hurts to let you know, this is how you know what's going on with Oak. This comes our mid-month news, and Make Mine Organic about, organic eaters. It's all available on our website if you want to sign up for that as well. And I think that's all I have for you today. Are we doing questions later or now? Okay. So I'll hand this off to Randy. Thank you all for listening.
Good morning. So, my name's Randy Smallwood. I have a small farm in East Kentucky over in Menifee County. I've worked with NRCS now going on my 32nd year, and every year things change and there's new things to learn, and we have a lot of people hanging around for a long time. I don't know if it's because of finances or because they get to teach younger people, they get to teach different subjects to different crowds, and it's pretty enjoyable. For years in Kentucky, I think Oak and organic folks have come into NRCS asking for help, and a lot of times there's not a lot of things that we can help with. If you're organic, then you probably already have your erosion concerns taken care of. You probably have, a lot of the work that we do has to do with water installation and pipeline and tanks and fences for livestock. On big crop fields, waterways, structures that may not typically fit to smaller organic fields, or some of the ones that I've seen anyway. But this is an opportunity coming from, as you said, the $75 million, where NRCS can help with that transition to organic operation and management. I've been told, since this is a new practice, it's interim, you know, they're trying it, but every state basically has adopted it. And what we're finding is that there's some money attached to this that I think everyone would be interested in, but as in most government programs, there are some strings attached, and we want to make sure that what we're doing is tying into your OSP plan. Is that correct? Organic system plan. So I'm used to talking about a conservation plan, and what we would normally do is go out and see what problems you have on your farm from an environmental standpoint. And then we would come up with a system, a conservation system, that would be documented in a plan document that said, hey, you need a waterway, for example. And then there would be this document called an IR implementation requirement, or in that case, since it's a waterway, an engineering design that says, hey, you have 30 acres of water coming into this one little area, and we have to build the waterway this wide and this deep so it will stay there. If you build it this wide and this deep, it will blow out again and you'll have another gully. So that's simplistic, but that's kind of how our conservation plans normally work. So within our conservation plan, we may have things like that, and then we could have this practice within that plan. So our efforts in the past, because we haven't had a lot of success in working with organic, and I think Adam's probably already covered this week, we've conducted trainings with West National Tech Center and the folks out there to provide training for our employees, so that when someone walks in the door, hopefully they know where to send you or how to help you, or to go to your farm and look and see exactly what you need, which is what I prefer. We've been partnering with that tech center for those trainings. We've produced organic publications. Those should be available now, Brooke. I sent those in my packet, but I don't know if we've got those printed or not. But I can get those to you, and we can send those out in an email. Both for our employees and also for the public, we have this new interim standard, and there's EQIP funding behind that. And that goes back to that money we were talking about. So Vermont actually came up with the standard. That's kind of how these interims work. Well, where did you get the standard for a watering tank for livestock? Well, that came from someone who said, we have a need, one of the states, and you send it up to headquarters and said, hey, this is a great standard. We need this in our toolbox of things that we can do. And so someone in Vermont saw that need, sent that up to National. National said, this is a great idea. They send it out, and typically they send it out and say, what's the other 49 states think? And you can adopt it if you want to. High Tunnel was that way. And for years, our management staff at NRCS said, what resource concern are we treating? We're not doing that, you know. And times change, and we started cost sharing on high tunnels. That's one great example. So this is one of those examples. And since it's been added, now we can do some things with you folks. And we've developed national and state implementation requirements, so now we can have a plan, a design to hand you all that would go in hand in hand with your OSP plan. We have regional payment scenarios that we can't do anything through EQIP unless we have a payment scenario to go by. Those are developed, used to be the Appalachian region, and I used to work on that team. I'm not sure how wide and encompassing that payment region is, but what everyone has input, and you try to come up with something that works for everyone within that region. The programs allows us on our planning trips to offer cost share, and this particular practice can be paid in a contract up to 5 times or 5 years, so that's really good. A lot of ours only allow you to do that like 3 years. They're based on a per acre basis, We'll talk about those at the end. And we actually have a separate, and this is very important, organic transition funding pool has been added in Kentucky. So before, if I wanted to be an organic farmer, wanted to transition, or I was already and I needed help, then there was no separate funding pool. So that means I get lumped in. If, let's say I want to do 5 acres of tomatoes, and that's the only crop I want to grow, I want it to be organic, then you would be lumped in with someone who's growing 2,000 acres of corn somewhere and needed some conservation work. And if you have more acres, then you can have more practices. And the more practices, typically, the higher your score goes within a funding pool. So this levels the playing field for organic. So that's critical. So I'm going to run through this standard a little bit, and you all can look at it and see kind of how it matches up to the OSP, and give you some ideas there. So the purposes of this standard. So we have to have a purpose before we can have a criteria. That's how our standards work. So the purposes that organic management currently, I think they're in process of changing this a little bit for 2024, but improve soil health to reduce soil erosion, allow more infiltration, reduce emissions of greenhouse gases, reduce pesticides. Well, if you're doing organic, you would be doing that for sure, moving from conventional. Improve plant productivity and health, and reduce plant pressure. All goes hand in hand with organics. Enhance habitat for wildlife pollinators. That can be something that someone wants to do in addition. Improve and maintain quantity or quality of forage for grazing. This is a lot of words, but I'll summarize. The general requirements that OSP plan adheres to the National Organic Standard program, and that production areas are protected from unintended introduction of prohibited substances. That all goes line by line with the OSP. This section here is you're doing the USDA organics. You're not just doing it off to the side and saying, I'm organic. You're actually going through the USDA organic certification. So all those tie back to it. And your certifier, and I think we can use Oak there as well, would have to sign off on that you are really doing that, heading in that direction. Must have a diverse crop rotation. That means, so we get into this a lot in the state of Kentucky, not necessarily with organics, but a lot of farmers will say, oh, soybeans are really, really high this year, I'm going to grow soybeans. And then next year they look at the crop prices and say, hey, soybeans is still high, I'm going to grow soybeans again. And you all know, you get into pest disease problems, agronomically it's just a really bad idea. And so that's just saying you have to do diversified crops. Again, fits into your all's plan. We do have a crop rotation standard, and that implementation requirement would be attached within the 823 standard. So that's one checkbox. Buffers, those also are part of an OSP plan, so those would be following our standards, which are not much different than what, they have minimum requirements, but not much different than what you all would do. Now here's a big one. 590 nutrient management standard is being followed. So that takes some work on probably Oak and NRCS together working. Brooke and I just talked about that, coming up with some way to come up with an organic nutrient management plan that can be signed off on. It would follow guidelines in this state, the University of Kentucky's guidelines for vegetable production. pH must be adjusted for the crops to be grown, and that's got Malic 2. That's a typo, it's Malic 3. Soil test must be utilized, and they have to come from the last 2 years. So what this is making sure is that someone isn't over applying something down next to a creek, creating some type of pollution problem, or being unaware of it, that kind of thing. With manures in this state, we sometimes get into problems because the phosphorus content of chicken litter, cattle manure, that kind of thing is so high that if you put it on for very long, especially in composted form, that does burn off some of the nutrients, but you end up with a level that becomes a nutrient sink that then leaches out or washes away if there happens to be erosion and gets into the streams. So anyway, we had to have a nutrient management plan. I know you all do some form of this, but this would be more restricted. So we have to make sure, most of the operations I have been on, their crop plant is typically not too sloping. An organic operation, it's usually in flatter areas, so this may not be that big of a deal, but if you are going to crop on sloping land, then the soil erosion rate of T or less is required. So what that tolerable means is that it would remain, if you cropped it in that manner, in your cropping system for years upon years upon years, your grandchildren could take on that farm, do that same rotation, and it remains sustainable. It's not going to be degraded. So I grew up on a tobacco farm. A lot of tillage, a lot of pressure, at your income to produce a crop. And if you do that wrong, you have erosion. So this is just making sure that it's done on the flatter ground, that a cover crop follows that, some type of cover to get you through the winter, and that you rotate out to other crops. So pest management also is a part of this. So you can see there's multiple requirements within this regular OSP plan has requirements too, but the NRCS requirements would try to tie hand in hand with that, but would require working with NRCS, making sure you're meeting what's required in each of those implementation requirements. So they're following prevention, avoidance, monitoring, and suppression of those pests, and I think that is something we all try to do. So it just would have to be documented. One thing that we do that probably would not be needed in the instance that you all have, I know you do have access within organics of some chemicals. There would have to be a wind pest ran. It's a tool ran by NRCS to make sure that the likelihood of that product leaving and causing some type of environmental concern is not there. So in the quantities of the chemicals that you all use, I don't think it would ever be. It's going to be one of those, check the sheet, make sure it's done, and you should be fine. So Brooke, that's something we can also work together on as a package, the 590 and 595. If you have livestock and if you're grazing, then it asks that you not overgraze and that you meet the prescribed grazing standard. And what I have found for years as a district conservationist, worked with a lot of cattle farmers, and I would run this Kentucky Graze program to figure out if it was overstocked or not. And what you're trying to do is, someone said take half, leave half a while ago. It's kind of like that. If you turn them into a big pasture field, leave something behind, you see too many operations where the pasture looks more like a concrete floor or a mud floor. Just make sure there's grass still out there, and make sure that you're rotating through those pastures for a multitude of reasons. Health concerns, erosion, pests such as worms, different things that can be eliminated by rotation. So it has other things that we have to do, but you would go through a livestock forage balance worksheet to start with. And when you go through there, then there would be possibly other practices that we could do. So it, maybe something structural that's needed on cropland, maybe more of something more permanent like filter strips or things like that that would have to go within the all-encompassing 823. And last but not least, we would have to have the concurrence of your certifying agent. So I gave this example to Brooke earlier. So NRCS can't roll out there and say, we're doing 823 with you, and you need to put this buffer here, and forget about that one down by the highway. We're going to buffer this stream. And then your certifier comes out and says, well, that's great, but you need one down here by the highway too. So they have to work together. We don't want to plan something that gets you in trouble with your certifier. So now, I did end up getting it in here, Brooke, but it's not, the explanation of this was not as simple. So, and you can see it's out of order. Those are just some payment rates that we're looking at, and I got some definitions now. Mr. Smallwood, what in the world does large mean? You know, a large farm, simple crops, foregone income. All those ones with FI are foregone income, and to my knowledge, this may change tomorrow, but to my knowledge, foregone income, we fought for years to get this included in there for all of our practices. If I come out to your farm and you don't know me and you don't have a connection with me, and I talk you into doing something, there's a risk there that you will mess that up. There's some risk in transitioning to organic. If you're already, let's just say you've got 1,000 acres of row crop and you want to transition that to organic because some distillers come and said, if you'll grow that organically, then we'll buy it from you. So there's some risk involved. And finally, for 823 in Kentucky, I think we're going to go the route of programs anyway. It's going to go the route of foregone income payments, which are slightly higher than the regular ones. There needs to be something in there. So you can look at this, but I'm going to simplify it for you. If you're a large farmer and you got around 1,200 acres and you want to transition it to organic, NRCS has a payment rate up here, somewhere around $100, 90 something. For every acre that you've got that you transition, you get $90 an acre for up to 5 years. Okay, well, that's 1,000 acres, you know, that's a lot. There are some folks in the state that are doing that and have more than 1,000 acres. Then we have what I would call most of the other farms, the 40-acre farms, may have some pasture, may have some crops. That will pay at a rate of somewhere around $500 if you have cattle as well, for example. If you don't have cattle, or you're taking it out of cattle production and putting it into organic crop production, and you have about 40 acres of it, you're going to work really hard for one thing. Then that's going to be somewhere around $400 an acre. And then we have more like what I've been called out to help with, the around 5-acre organic farm. So you have a lot of production on a small footprint, and that payment rate is close to $2,000 an acre. So for the smaller farmers on those 5 acres, I mean, me and my wife grow a vegetable garden, and it's probably a 1/4 acre, which is pretty good size for a garden, but it works us to death. So you multiply that times 10, I know what you're getting into. And sometimes we fail at it too with jobs and things. But so that's for all that paperwork, for all that, you're going to have to do a lot of that anyway for your OSP. But those particular things that we want input in on organic, in 823, the nutrient management and the pest management, to get in line with NRCS, there's a pretty good incentive to do that. And so there's my contact information. If you have any other questions on it, I'm sure you will. I have recently went statewide with our staff, and I know from history that we have some offices that are great in working with the organic producers, and we have some offices that have a lot to be desired because they're just not, the interest isn't there, or the employee that was interested got transferred, and it's just a lot that goes on. So I would ask that Brooke, as you see interest, you funnel all those folks through to me, and we'll make sure that you and I take care of them and they get what they need. Appreciate the opportunity.
No, it's great. I'm actually not supposed to speak, but I'm just so excited. I'm going to add just a little bit of context. First, this is work that Oak's been doing for a long time because farmers have been asking for it. This technical support around the paperwork, helping folks get certified, demystifying, like, what the heck is the National Organic Program, and what do you mean there are like 100 pages of federal regulations that define what has to happen on my farm and defines the paperwork I have to submit to my certifier every year, right? There's a lot there, so much so that a lot of farmers who are new to it are like, they don't even know what questions to ask, and that's okay. That's why we have Kenya and awesome staff. Like, first, there is no wrong question. You do not need to know all the questions to ask. And just by reaching out, you're starting a conversation and starting the process of learning more about how to be really confident in your application to certify. So just wanted to say that this is a journey and we're here for you. And we're just so excited about the USDA investing in organics through the Organic Transition Initiative that's supporting the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. That's the technical assistance Kenya mentioned, and the technical assistance that's available through the mentorship program, and this new organic management practice standard. So I want to acknowledge that this is a really large national effort, and we're excited to see this. It's really the first time ever there's been a cohesive investment in the organic movement and the industry, and it's exciting, and we're just at the beginning of it. And big props to NRCS for the great work that you all do. They're all about soil health and water quality and improving our natural resources, and there is just like the Venn diagram of overlap in terms of what organic farmers are caring about. Like, this is what we're about. So really thrilled to see this new organic management practice standard, and I want everyone in the room to know that a lot of NRCS offices were told to push out this organic management practice standard because it's a priority, and they're learning also about what it takes and how to implement it, and bringing their staff along with that as well. So patience and understanding is really important, and if you need support in that process, please reach out to me or Randy, as Randy said. Also, so one other thing, big picture, is that Oak is not an organic certifier. Sometimes there's some misinterpretation there, and we are just a helper, right? According to the regulations, the certifiers are sort of the rule enforcers, right? They get to make sure that you are abiding by the regulations, and they also cannot be the helpers, right? Certifiers can't really be significant helpers with you on your journey. They can't tell you what to do on your farm. They can just say, what you're doing here does not meet this regulation. And that's what they'll say to you again and again. And so you can come to us, and we can help explore what some solutions are there, right? We want to be part of that journey with you. We want to be on that journey with you. So there are like 50 certifiers in the United States. There are 10 or more that certify in Kentucky. So it is your job as a farmer to figure out which certifier you would like to work with in Kentucky. Select a certifier, and that certifier is going to make you part of the application to them. It includes the organic system plan. And that is consider it a living document, right? It is all of your inputs onto the farm, every activity on your farm, a map of your farm, right? And then all of your outputs, what you're harvesting, your harvest records, right? So that is, when we say OSP or Organic System Plan, it is a detailed living document. What is awesome about the Organic Management Practice Standard that is now available through NRCS, not your certifier, right? Separate places. That Organic Management Practice Standard is a lot of the management strategies, right? It supports your tools that you will use on your farm, and can actually inform a lot of the content that you have to put into your OSP. So there's some overlapping synergy here, okay? And they complement one another. Doing the organic management practice standard with NRCS is not a requirement. It is simply a way to get some very precise technical assistance and financial support to help you be successful in applying for organic certification. Okay? So I'm just trying to big, broad picture, bring the pieces together and resources. If you want to certify, you do have to submit an organic system plan to your certifier, right? Everything else is optional and meant to be a support. So we're really excited. I think, Randy, I did have one more question for you, is just the timing. If you could explain a little bit about the EQUIP program and timing, and if farmers were interested in exploring the organic management practice standard, how they should first start that process and timing to consider.
So timing-wise, we take applications year-round. So someone could walk in tomorrow and say, I want to sign up for this under EQUIP. The only thing is, there's the actual funding and the ranking. I talked about funding pools. The ranking occurs like yesterday, one of those things. So you have time to think about this. You have time to get some of these other plans in place or start working toward that and working with you and me to get the other IRs, the nutrient management, the pest management, the prescribed grazing plan, whatever it is you need, get those things in place to implement the 823. So it may be that we get an extra bunch of money, which happens a lot, and we can pick those up this year. And it may be that we don't, and you're funded for this in 2025. So it's ongoing. And we just had like 1 month. Put something in the newspapers, we had a lot less money too. Take so many get your applications in for that month and cut it off until next year. You were interested in this, come back next year and talk to me. Well, a lot of people don't come back. But now we can take your application at any time. Is that kind of what you needed? Okay.
Okay, so we have some questions on Slido here. I don't know if our two presenters can come up on stage here. So the first question is, how long does it take for a farm to transition into certification?
That's a great question. And the answer is, it's really different for every person. It depends on your operation and the details. Just like each one of you are doing different things in this room, your operation is significant to you. And so it may take you 3 days, let's get through this. It may take you 3 months. It may take you 3 years. There's a lot of different things that fall into your individual plan and what you're going to need. So there's no really one, specific answer to that. However, I've heard lots of people come to me and say, oh, I heard it takes, 5 years to get that done. And, just different rumors that go around. The land has to be clean and had no prohibited substance on it for 3 years. That's a given. And so depending on whether you have documentation of that, maybe an affidavit from the prior owner that they can submit and say, my granddaddy and I've been on this land for 15 years and it's just been sitting with horses on it and no one's ever done anything. There are ways to get information for the land. So it really is specific to your operation.
I'll add to that. It's working. So I think that's why our 823 can go up to 5 years. It may take some folks 2 years, 1 year. It may take them 3. So it covers that.
So the next question, can you participate in the mentorship program more than once so you have the opportunity to learn a variety of skills from different farmers?
Question too. So the mentorship program is on an annual basis. So when we sign you up, you've got 12 months then to be in the program with your mentor. And if your mentor decides to renew, it's a renewal process every year. And so during the renewal time, I'll say to you in our last meeting, like, how did this go? Do you want to do it again? And if you guys want to give it a go, great. You can go into it again. If your mentor says, I'm out, I've got a baby coming next month, then of course maybe she needs to take a break and you might get a new mentor the next go around. And so it's going until you get certified. And once you reach your certification, then you're still going to get all the technical support and production, support that's still available to you, the technical assistance. But, once you certify, then we're moving you on in the process, getting more people in. So yeah, you can do it more than once. Is there a limit to how long that would be, Brooke? Yeah, you're expected to get through it. Yeah, maybe 3 to 4 years, depending on your process, like we said. So once we get you to that point, then we move on, and you're done. But yeah, you can do it again.
Can mentors have more than one mentee at a time? For example, if a couple runs a farm together and both want the chance to be mentored.
That can happen, yeah. A mentor can have a group of farmers if they want. It depends on what the mentor wants, and so if they feel like they can handle that or not. If a couple is dealing with a mentor like as a business purpose, like we've gone into this as partnership, and one of them is on the contract and paperwork and it's being the mentee, that mentor is dealing with that person, the other person's kind of backup or whatever, However, if the mentor wants 2 mentees and has that availability, then yeah, it can happen.
So next one. Are there requirements or prior experience necessary for applying to the organic inspection training?
Okay, that's a question for the International Organic Inspectors Association. However, when you apply for this, we've got some new SOE changes and rules that have happened in the industry, and so there's a lot of new guidelines, and I'm not real familiar I do know that there's a certain amount of hours that they're requiring now that you have on-farm experience that started in 2024. I'm not sure if anything else has changed, but this will be an application process. They're going to select who they want from that application because it is a free training. There's a rubric that's involved in it, and so if you check all the boxes, put you to the top, and maybe someone else maybe not, If I was just running a spaghetti sauce factory my whole life and decided I want to be an inspector, which would be great, it doesn't mean that, like, if he applied, he might get them, he's got some experience on the farm, obviously, and, so it just depends, but anyone's welcome to apply.
And Kenya, you could probably add something too, since you've taken this actual inspector course. The course is a week-long in-person course. So you need to be available to commit to the entire time. And there are 2 half-day pre-course virtual workshops that are required in preparation for it. So it's a significant commitment of time. What's so incredible is that KSU and IOIA would be offering it in Kentucky, so there wouldn't be significant travel involved. But you are expected to stay locally. It's a very intense day every day, and so you do not want to be driving an hour and a half home and back every day. So just a consideration to keep it real, because it's a significant professional development commitment. Yeah, that's all.
And I will say amen to that. It really is. I'm really bad about timing, and I didn't even realize the webinars were happening. Milking cows or whatever, and I would not suggest that you do that. Like, study and really get into it, because it's a lot of things that you'll look at for that webinar, those 2 pre-webinars, and they score you on how you test on those as well as part of that rubric. So It's intense.
Thank you. The next question here is, how much overlap is there in the paperwork for the OSP and NRCS organic practice standard paperwork, or are they separate and additive? Do you want me to read again?
They're separate documents, for sure, so there would be quite a bit of overlap.
And you know, the unique challenge is going to be that your certifier and NRCS don't have like a natural pre-existing relationship. I'm seeing Randy shake his head. And so again, just this is a reminder for your patients, and you know, knowing that it might take some time to make sure that your OSP, your organic system plan for your certifier, and that the organic management practice standard that you'd be developing in partnership with NRCS are in alignment. So you would maybe have a slower timeline to have those be developed and evolve alongside one another than if you were just doing one on their own, right?
Awesome if everyone was there together, but the likelihood of that's going to be pretty small. So you could start with a conservation plan within NRCS and ask that 823 be included in it, then take that to your certifier and see if they have any problems with it, and we can always modify the conservation plan.
Acknowledge one of the other questions in Slido is, what's the actual capacity of Kentucky certifiers to help with this process? Spoken by someone who maybe knows a little bit. And I think that's a very real question. So just again, to state that you might need to have a slower process, and might be on you as the farmer to be in more follow-up conversation with your certifier, depending on which certifier you're using. And then Oak, of course, is happy to fill in that in-between space as much as possible, if you give us permission to. That is something you would have to give us permission to do, talk to the certifier and NRCS on your behalf.
Thank you. So the last question here is, can microgreens indoor and hydroponic farmers become certified?
Yes, microgreens can be certified, and then there are a whole host of other like food safety things to consider there also. And hydroponic can be certified in accordance to the National Organic Program regulations at this time. Oak does not have that area of expertise in terms of hydroponic production systems, so we could make a referral for you if you were interested in certifying hydroponics.
I have one more question. So what does a day look like in the life of an organic inspector?
Ooh, that's a great question. So you're going to work, if you're doing crop inspection, from the growing season, spring till fall, and depending on the certifier that you are contracted with or working under, I specifically, my experience, I worked for Pennsylvania Certified Organic. I'm speaking fast because I got 4 seconds. So I went to Pennsylvania, stayed a whole week long, and I would inspect 6-7 farms while I was there. And I did that once a month, just according to what I wanted to do, because I was an independent contractor. You might decide to take a job with a certifier who's paying you hourly, and they send you and tell you, and you know, I run my own business, and so that's the freedom of being an inspector, is that you can run your own business as a, you know, as an independent contractor. So it's tough sometimes, you know, it's hot. I'm a hijabi, standing out in the middle of a field, burning up, going in someone's, you know, shed to read all of their inputs, and you got to go through every single input. I'm in Pennsylvania, and the man escapes from the prison, and he's out in the cornfields where I'm inspecting, and I got to go to the middle of the cornfield to make sure that that's not non-GMO corn. So these things happen, and you can't travel to Pennsylvania with your 9mm. So, you know, hotel safety, being a woman, all the things, you got to count it all. But also, it's the most rewarding thing. I love the job. I just really would rather be home right now doing this with you in this capacity. But I would encourage anyone to go into this. We really need quality inspectors, and it's a great job. It's a great opportunity, and I wouldn't take it back. I still think about it. So you can travel the world. It's, you know, it's international. Organics are everywhere. You can go everywhere with this job. So I'd encourage anybody, but it's great. That's it.
Yeah, I think we've come to the end of this session. Let's give our speakers a round of applause.